Our final speaker is Dr. Seema Grover, who heads our Physiotherapy and Rehabilitation Center. She's a passionate professional with 29 years of experience in tertiary care hospitals. She's a certified lymphedema therapist with vast experience in treating primary and secondary lymphedemas. The key areas of interest are oncophysiotherapy, transplant rehab, orthopedics, neurology, and geriatrics. She's a recipient of various prestigious awards and is an advisory member to the Board of Studies for various universities in Delhi NCR. Presently, she is Joint Secretary Delhi branch of the Indian Association of Physiotherapists. Just like the new normal consequent to the COVID-19 pandemic, Dr. Seema will talk to you on how patients need to prepare themselves in navigating the new normal post-breast cancer-related lymphedema. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Sushila. Yes, I'm going to talk about breast cancer-related lymphedema, navigating to new normal. My thought process for this is that as all the speakers previous to me, they have discussed about what is new things in the breast cancer treatment and its detection. We all know that because of these advances, there is a lot of because of these advances, we have found that the survival rate for breast cancer lymphedema has really risen up even to 90% of survival in 5 years cumulative if we see, or even more. More so in the countries which are developed countries, along with the countries which are developing or underdeveloped. So when we talk of breast cancer related lymphedema, if we have to define it, it is a sequel to breast cancer treatment caused by the disruption of lymphatics, be it surgery, be it radiation, trauma, or infection, which it leads to an abnormal accumulation of this lymphatic fluid, which is protein-rich fluid, into the tissue spaces, and it causes chronic inflammation and reactive fibrosis of the affected tissues if it is neglected. As we have heard prior also, that 1 of 5 breast cancer survivors, they do develop breast cancer related lymphedema. Though the techniques, the advances have taken place, but still the risk is pretty grave. And it is a lifetime risk. Of course, initially, like Dr. Manish said, initial 2 to 3 years, the risk is way more, and thereafter the risk reduces, but it is a lifetime risk. And these days, when we see the longevity of the patient's life, we know, we talk a lot about quality of life. So it definitely has some negative impact on health-related quality of life. If we talk of incidence, though told earlier also, but yes, sentinel lymph node biopsy or the surgery when it is done with sentinel lymph node, the chances of lymphedema are way low. And once now it is studied that if axillary reverse mapping is done, the chances go way lower. And axillary lymph node dissection has around 22.3%, which is the latest literature which talks of, but it can range up to 60-65% also. 5-year cumulative, when it is axillary lymph node dissection along with the regional local lymph node radiation, it is 30.1, and it reduces when it comes to the sentinel lymph node alone, which is way lower. Before we talk of the risk factors, the prevention or the treatment of lymphatic lymphedema or breast cancer related lymphedema, I thought we'll just talk about a little bit about the anatomy of lymphatic system. Unlike the circulatory system, it is a unidirectional system where from whole of the interstitium, the body spaces, the soft tissue spaces, the fluid comes back to the heart. So it functions as an overflow mechanism to return the proteins or the excess fluid which is placed in the tissue spaces. When we talk of the what are the components of lymphatic system, it is not only the lymph nodes, lymphatic vessels, their capillaries, pre-collectors, collectors, along with various organs of the body like spleen, thymus, tonsils, Pierce patches in intestine, and even the bone marrow, they form lymphatic system. They are a part of lymphatic system. When we talk of its physiology, here in this diagram, I've shown a lymphatic collector. This vessel has valves in it, and it opens because, since I said it is unidirectional, once the fluid comes in, the valve shuts down and it flows in one direction only. And this movement of the valve from one valve to another valve is called lymphangion motoricity. So if anything is done, this motoricity increases to the level. Initially, it is something like 6 to 10 per minute, but with exercises or with manual drainage, it can go up to 20 per minute. If we talk of the physiology or look at the pathophysiology, we say at the capillary level, the exchange has an equilibrium. So whenever this equilibrium or this balance is disrupted, that means whatever arterioles are leaving in the system, the venous system is not able to take it, or little bit is left, then this lymphatics, the one shown in the green, they take that fluid back to the system through either long thoracic duct or the right lymphatic duct. So when we talk of risk factors, we heard quite a bit from Dr. Manish Singhal. Of course, the studies do talk of, yes, that what can be the preventive measures. I'll just speak about it in detail also. So whenever the cancer is something like advanced breast cancer or stage 3, or a lot of studies says when more than 8 lymph nodes are involved, then the chances of having breast cancer related lymphedema are way higher. Of course, we saw in the incidence axillary lymph node dissection along with the local radiation also increases the risk. If post-operatively the axillary drain is for a longer duration, that also calls for it that yes, there are chances of developing lymphedema way more. No doubt, higher BMI, more than 25, of course, leads us towards a greater risk factor to develop lymphedema. Post-operative radiotherapy, as I said, along with this, adjuvant chemotherapy, as shown in the slide previously by him also, by Dr. Manish, yes, can be a risk factor for having lymphedema. Cellulitis or wound infections also are along. When we talk of those fear avoidance behaviors which was talked of, which I'll talk in prevention. And okay, so stages, when we have to grade lymphedema, it comes in basically 4 stages. Initial stage is latency, when the transport capacity is reduced, but there is only complaint of heaviness or achiness. Beyond that, one does not really feel that it is obvious looking swelling. Stage 1, this edema comes and goes off. It may start either proximally or distally, but this accumulation builds up, and whenever somebody is touching the skin, there is pitting, as seen here. And it reduces with little elevation, of course, because that's the time when the fluid has not converted or taken the fibrous form. Stage 2 in lymphedema is spontaneously irreversible, which is accumulation of this fluid along with some fibrosis setting into it. So pitting becomes progressively more difficult. And stage 3 is elephantiasis limb, which is way bigger, and at times there are a lot of skin changes on that skin, which can be sclerosis, papillomas, or hyperkeratosis. Generally, that is seen since these stages are for upper and lower extremity both, since lower extremity is gravity dependent, so hyperkeratosis and papillomas are way more obvious and seen into the patients with lower extremity edema. What are the characteristics if a patient comes to me? Generally, we find that yes, they say, I felt little heavy, but few days thereafter I was okay. Some fine day when I work a little more, I feel I'm heavy, and later once I rest, next morning I'm all fine. So this onset is slow, but it is progressive. Pitting, as I said, in grade 1, 2, 3, it is seen. It starts distally, which is felt sometimes, but sometimes people say it is more proximally. There is a thing like Stemmer's sign. When you hold the finger and you try to pinch it, you can approximate your skin. So that is a negative sign. But in these patients, when there is edema, then you cannot approximate the pinch. So that we call as tremor sign positive. Generally, it is seen in dorsum of hand. This edema is asymmetric unless it is bilateral dissection, or cellulitis is way commoner in these patients. Discomfort, heaviness, achiness is quite common once they develop edema. And there is gradually, because this arm goes very heavy, the whole brachial plexus on the side is pulled and your posture goes different. So there is impaired arm or shoulder movement. Along with that, the fibrosis, the muscles around or the fascia around starts going tighter. So there is a lot of impaired shoulder and arm movement. Skin changes, of course, are seen at times. All this really leads to emotional and social distress to the patient. Regarding their quality of life, it makes a difference when they come with it. They really find it very uneasy that their one arm is heavier than the other one. So how do we diagnose it in physiotherapy? How do we really diagnose it? Of course, when it is breast cancer related in lymphedema, the history speaks for itself that yes, a patient who's undergone a breast cancer surgery, chemotherapy or radiation therapy thereafter, maybe when you read the history, it's not lumpectomy, it is, and along with the modified radical mastectomy, it is something like axillary dissection. So that history tells us that this is something like edema. Once we go for the inspection, we see if there is cellulitis which has just brought this edema. You will find inflammatory signs in that, or the skin color changes. On palpation, when you work on something like Stemmer's sign, you would find it. And there are various diagnostic tests which are done to measure or to get to know that yes, to diagnose that it is lymphedema. Still remaining gold standard for physiotherapists mainly, it is the limb circumference and volumetric. In limb circumference, it is said if the circumference is more than 2 centimeters from the contralateral arm, if it is unilateral edema, then it is said to be labeled as lymphedema. Or when it is more than 200 ml of volumetric change, as you see here, when you do volumetric thing, so the water displaced is taken. So if there is change of more than 200 milliliter, then it is said to be lymphedema. Other ways of testing is bioimpedance testing, which also strongs a quite good, it's a good diagnostic tool, where they take the resistance which they find when they pass the waves through it, that if there is resistance or impedance felt into the circulation, it is diagnosed. So in bioimpedance lymphedema testing, we can even see the latency phase and can work towards it. Other imaging tests like lymphoscintigram or near infrared fluorescence, MRI, PET CT, they are basically to rule out is there any other pathology or more of the area involved. Ultrasound scan, a lot of studies these days they say it is one of the good recommended kinds with which one can diagnose the stages further of lymphedema. So for prevention, a lot was talked about by Dr. Manish regarding what are the myths and the facts. Of course, BMI remains the biggest thing in prevention, that one should do regular exercises so that the BMI remains within the limits or it is less than or equal to 45. Cellulitis or risk of infection is also a bigger thing. If we want to prevent, then we need to know why I have put these no blood draws, IV, BP, finger sticks, because the studies which are done, though they are recent, but the literature does not have that much of a number of patients taken to really say that yes, it is 100% that we should take them as absolute no as prevention. Though there are fear avoidance behaviors, that no blood draw from this side or taking BP from that side, but these are still under trials and still one has to be 100% sure on saying that whether we should be following it or not. Of course, the studies which have shown that they have little less impact, but these are some fear avoidance behaviors. Initially, National Lymphedema Network from US had given these precautions, but over the time, with the literature, they have found that yes, they are very less fear factors. So one must definitely think of BMI and the cellulitis. So working regularly on exercises, be it aerobic, be it resistive, would really help to prevent lymphedema. Another thing is now they're finding that even genes, they found gene mutation also leading to the breast cancer related lymphedema. So that is also one thing which one cannot really control. But yes, to work towards prevention, one will have to work towards something like regular exercise, having a healthy diet and an active lifestyle. When we come towards treatment of lymphedema, then still till date remains complete decongestive therapy as the gold standard treatment. Once a person has encountered lymphedema, then we know the quality of life is really deteriorated. So they want relief because one arm is really swollen, bigger, leading to altered body prosthesis. So what is important that when we work on the treatment, complete decongestive therapy is one of the things. Pneumatic compression pump also can be given. Compression garments, whether it is compression sleeve, compression bandages, or compression wraps. There is a lot of literature these days which talks of compression wraps way better than bandaging because then you have a better control onto wearing it in the phase 2 specifically. Of course, very little role of medication. Surgery also has a role. As I said, working on axillary reverse mapping initially itself can really reduce the incidence of having edema. Other adjuncts in physiotherapy can be aquatic therapy, kinesiotaping, and laser therapy, low level laser therapy, which has a lot of incidence. When we talk of complete decongestive therapy, it has 4 components in it mainly, which is manual lymphatic drainage, compression bandaging, remedial exercises, and meticulous skin and nail care. This is very, very important because with this we can avoid cellulitis, which is one of the prime factors found in the studies, can lead to a risk factor leading to lymphedema. And in phase 2, we talk of instructions in self-care. So complete decongestive, first phase is daily treatments. Generally what I do is I call patients for nearly 3 weeks, having 5 days per week, where manual lymphatic drainage is done. Thereafter they are given compression bandaging, which is to be kept overnight, and they open it here itself. Along with that, exercises and instructions on skin and nail care. In the second phase, this is done 2 to 4 weeks. It depends on the severity. Once they may require only 15 sessions, or sometimes when the limb is too bulky or stage 3 may require 2 set of those 15 sessions. And thereafter, patient goes with the self-care phase where they wear garment during the daytime. And I still recommend, because they learn bandaging themselves also, so they bandage at night, and exercises to be a part of their treatment daily. Very, very important in exercise is something like diaphragmatic breathing and their walking, which I really emphasize to them, which they should be doing to activate the whole system to offload that area. Diet, a very healthy and well-balanced diet is advisable. Again, the aim is that BMI should not be high because of the diet. Another thing, a lot of studies, they talk of medium chain polysaccharides or triglycerides. So eating those foods, which does not add on to the BMI or the weight gain, would really be recommended. Surgeries, yes, various surgeries, they are trying to do something like lymph node transfer and all, but they all also have their own flaws. When we talk of breast cancer related lymphedema, it is really, really important that we talk of the outcome measures, because as I said, with the longevity because of the advances in the treatment, the longevity of patients is very good. So we need to work on their physical domains. What is their emotional aspect about their disease? How do they really find in their functional area? What all disturbances do they find in their activities of daily living? How they feel they are connected to their family, their society. So in physiotherapy, when a patient comes to us, we do work on certain functional scales as this FACT-B+4 and DASH questionnaire basically for the involved arm, what all is the severity or the problem with the arm, we see that. So these are various questionnaires on which we measure that when with the treatment, the lymphedema or the fluid is reduced, but at the same time, how much functional ability patient has regained along with that. These are few of my patients which I've worked on. This is something when you start with, you see that generally they have parallel wrist and gradually it gets to near normal. But this was a patient who just worked for 2.5 weeks, that is 15 sessions, and thereafter she managed herself home. These are my references, and I would like to put for the patient especially is the outer conditions of the person's life will always found to reflect their inner beliefs. So if they really feel that they would look for prevention and thereafter they would look for the risk factors and they would work towards it, it is really the time is quite near with all the advances in radiation therapy, in chemotherapy, in surgical procedures, and of course our physical therapy management procedure, that we will see very less number of breast cancer related lymphedema. So that is for the therapy.
I'm going to talk about a technique which is manual lymphatic drainage, which is a gentle, rhythmic and slow technique. It has to be done to drain the lymphatic fluid from the lymphoedematous limb or the breast area. To initiate the whole system, we activate inguinal and abdominal lymph nodes by breathing into your belly. Breathe in, up, 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 up. Breathe out through your mouth. Breathe in once again, up, 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 hold, breathe out through your mouth. This has to be done 10 to 15 times. Thereafter, we work on the supraclavicular lymph nodes in a semicircular manner to activate the system. Then we go from the shoulder to the arm, and it is in the upward direction, and back to the shoulder and through the anastomosis going towards the other or the normal lymphatic lymph nodes which are not removed surgically or through radiation, they have some insult. Along with the manual lymphatic drainage, once it is done for 30 to 45 minutes, we wrap the patient's arm with bandages or a compression garment or a wrap, and thereafter patient is advised to do exercises and is given information about the skin care.
Thank you, Dr. Seema. Very useful presentation.